This video is sponsored by Surfshark, more on them a little bit later on. Now, usually when I make one of these videos, I have a pretty good idea where I stand on them opinion-wise. Yuki Tsunoda should have had another year in F2, Michael Massey's an idiot, and I don't even think I need to say anything more on this one, do I? But this week I'm really stuck on the fence, with my research consisting of more conflicting viewpoints in the aftermath of the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. In the end, I thought I'd present you with the facts and let you decide for yourselves down in the comments, because I don't have one more thing to argue about. Anyway, hey there guys, I'm Will and welcome to FP1, the Formula 1 channel hosted by a man who still doesn't know how to drive. This week we're focusing in on the 1999 European Grand Prix, hosted at Germany's famous Nürburgring. The race was famous for many things, including Johnny Herbert's final race win, Pedro Diniz turning his F1 car into a digger, and the FIA potentially catching several teams cheating but never acknowledging it to the public. More on that later. While I may not be 100% confident on that last one, I am at least sure you'll all benefit from hearing about today's sponsor, Surfshark, and also a big thank you to them for supporting the video. Surfshark VPN allows you to surf the web from 65 different countries, securing your data and hiding your online identity from any prying eyes. If you're unfamiliar with VPNs, they help encrypt the information sent between your device and the internet, keeping things like your IP address and download history hidden while you browse. It also lets you place your phone in more or less any country you can think of, so if you're stuck in self-isolation and fancy a virtual trip to the home of our Lord and Saviour, you can do that too. This lets you bypass geo-restrictions in your country, allowing access to alternative sports streams, new Netflix libraries, and my videos once the jokes get too spicy and YouTube tries to take me down. Finally, Surfshark have a built-in clean web feature, which acts as an ad block and prevents you from falling victim to any phishing or malware attempts, further improving your safety online. If all that sounds enticing and you want to help support the channel, check out Surfshark VPN using the link in the description below. Using the promo code FP1 gets you 3 months free and 83% off the software after that. There's also a 30-day money-back guarantee, so there's literally no risk in trying it out. Now, as I've said before, interacting with channel sponsors really helps support me and lets me make more of these videos for you guys, and I'd really appreciate it if you checked out the link in the description below. But now let's get back to the video and discuss what happened at the 1999 European Grand Prix. So, before we jump into the race itself, let's just set the scene a little bit. The European Grand Prix of 1999 was round 14 of a 16-race championship, and the battle at the front was tight, between McLaren's Mika Häkkinen and Ferrari's Eddie Irvine. Now, if you're wondering where Michael Schumacher was at this stage, he was still in recovery after his car's brakes went on strike in Silverstone, effectively ruling him out of the championship. David Coulthard and Heinz-Harald Frentzen were still mathematically in contention, however Coulthard was stuck being Häkkinen's Bottas, and Heinz-Harald Frentzen was being Heinz-Harald Frentzen. The German was having a good day in qualifying, however, putting his Jordan on pole by 0.2 of a second from Coulthard, with Häkkinen third and Irvine back in 9th. But before we can get to the race, there was a lot of controversy brewing behind the scenes. Supposedly anyway. During the 1990s, several F1 teams had allegedly developed a perfect start system. Now this may sound complicated, but in actuality it was just a beep. Nowadays, when the 5 lights come on, they wait for a random amount of time before going out and officially starting the race. However, back in the olden days, the sequence was much simpler than that. The lights would come on, wait for a set period of time, then go out and the Grand Prix would begin. Some of the teams began to cotton on to this, and realised that the light sequence was initiated by the race director sending a radio signal via the push of a button. So, if teams could work out when this radio signal was transmitted, they would know the exact point in time when the lights would go out. And that's exactly what they did, playing an audible beep in the driver's ear 100 milliseconds before the race would get underway. Now, funnily enough, no team has ever admitted to this. However, I'll play a quick segment from a Dutch interview with Keith van der Grint, one of the tyre specialists for Michael Schumacher. I'll drop the full clip from Autovisie in the description below.
Maar er bleek dus ook een manipulatie van de software te zijn, waar de rijder niets meer hoefde te doen. En als een raket er vandoor ging, zodra de wedstrijdleider op een knop drukte. In de baan zit een lus om een valse start. Maar ja, op het moment dat u op de knop drukt, gaat die lus uit. Ja, maar dat was tevens het signaal van wegwezen.
Vingers op.
Ja, de vingers op. Dus dat was...
While the teams thought they were all clever designing this super start system, upstairs the FIA were beginning to realise that something was going on. The tricky thing though was going to be proving which teams were cheating and which were playing by the book. However, the boffins at the FIA had a cunning plan for this too. Allegedly, the race director changed the interval between the fifth light turning on and the lights going out, without telling the teams of course. The result? Well, I'll let you see for yourself.
Out and the lights are still on and Frentzen has jumped the start. Hakkinen has jumped the start.
So that's not gone well then. Thing is, the start controversy doesn't quite end here, as had the FIA admitted to meddling with its own rules, the paddock and F1 fans would have come down on them big time. You know, I feel like I've seen this before. Anyway, this is where the FIA might have covered up the expose, with the official line from most sources claiming that the start was actually aborted due to Marc Genet and Alex Zanardi starting out of place on the grid. And in fairness, this is true. If we look at the footage again, there's clearly a gap where the 18th place Zanardi should be, but for some reason the Italian leaves his grid space blank and pulls into the one behind it. Normally, we'd see this if a car can't make the start, like Nico Hülkenberg here in 2020. But the problem is, all 22 cars lined up on the grid that Sunday afternoon. So there's no logical reason then for Zanardi to line up where he did, or why he didn't just move up a spot upon realising his mistake. And on the restart there was also a gap, but no one seemed to care about it this time. So, was Zanardi in on the whole plot? Well, who knows? It's probably unlikely, but you've got the facts now, so it's up to you in the comments below. Have fun down there. Now I could just end the video here, but it's not long enough for ads, so we may as well talk about the race, as admittedly it was probably one of the most chaotic of all time. On the second attempt at the start, Frentzen got away well, as Hakkinen passed Coulthard for second, but the drama all happened at the back, as a slowing Damon Hill caused a multi-car collision resulting in Pedro Deniz's Sauber attempting to go to the stratosphere. Pedro was thankfully okay despite the scary crash, joining Hill and Benetton's Alex Wurz on the sidelines as the safety car was called out. Once the race restarted, Frentzen continued to lead, though God's piss was about to play a factor as rain hit the Nürburgring circuit. Strategy would then be key, and bringing in a driver at the right time could win or lose in the race. So out of all the teams, who do you think managed to cock it up? As Ferrari saw the rain coming down, they called title challenger Irvine into the pits for a change onto the dry compound of tyre. To add salt into the wounds rather than just fit the tyres and send him towards death, they sat around and discussed it for the better half of 30 seconds, before sending him off on slicks anyway. How this team went on to win so many championships, I'll never know.
Well, this is ludicrous. This is
now
ludicrous.
we're going to have a committee meeting about it. Stick it on and send him out.
What? Guess that's how we got Alex Brundle then. At least things were going well for Frentzen at the front. Oh, never mind. The German complained of a loss of power coming out of the pits, and Jordan later told the public an electrical issue had taken him out of the lead. In truth, though, it was a little bit more embarrassing than that. In an interview with F1 in 2020, the team's marketing director Mark Gallagher admitted that Frentzen's retirement was because he forgot to turn the pit limiter off as he left the pit lane. Basically sums up the guy's career, that, doesn't it? Interestingly, had Frentzen or Irvine's incident not occurred, we could have been looking at a different world champion for 1999. But that's a video for another day. Anyway, that just left David Coulthard and Mika Hakkinen when it came to title contenders. Okay, make that just Hakkinen. This put Giancarlo Fisichella into the lead for all of 5 minutes. So next up into first place was Ralf Schumacher, who lasted about half a lap before his rear right tyre decided to be a Pirelli and blow up on him. And all this paved the way for Johnny Herbert, who started the race back in 14th but now led with the back Marcus Stewart team, with teammate Rubens Barrichello not too far behind in third. Further down the order, the feel-good stories were aplenty, with Luca Badoa also looking to get his first points with the struggling Minardi team. But sadly, his car also blew up, and we were left with another entry in the crying F1 Drivers' Hall of Fame. At least he got a Ferrari 10 years later, eh? Though that car was also shit. So as the race came to an end then, the Stewart Grand Prix team would get their sole win in Formula 1, with both drivers joining Jarno Trulli's Prost on the podium, in what must have been one of the craziest races of all time. Come the end of the season, Hakkinen would claim his second and final world title, with Ferrari's costly mistake meaning Irvine had to settle for second. F1 roll hoops were also strengthened after Deniz's crash, and in April 2000, Max Mosley announced that they had believed an unnamed F1 team was using banned technology throughout the 1999 season. There's been plenty of speculation since over what technology it was and who were to blame, but no further information has come out since. Guess it's a shame we never had Twitter in those days, isn't it? Anyway, if you enjoyed the video, be sure to give it a like and subscribe to the channel as we're getting ever closer to that 50,000 subscriber mark. A big thank you to the patrons for supporting the channel and Surfshark for supporting this video. Be sure to check them out in the description below. But that's all from me, I'll see you soon with another video, but until then, have a good one.